Introducing the Past Present Feature Film Festival, a new showcase celebrating cinematic storytelling across time. From bold proof-of-concept shorts to standout new films lighting up the circuit to overlooked features that deserve another look. Sponsored by the Past Present Feature podcast and Leica Camera, all films screen in Hollywood using Leica's CineWay projector. Submit now at filmfreeway.com/past-present-feature. The past, the present, the future of film, all under one spotlight. Welcome to the Past Present Feature podcast. Charlie Tyrell breaks down how the AI doc, or How I Became an Apocaloptimist, this year's South by Southwest Audience Award winner, now in theaters from Focus Features, turns an overwhelming, abstract subject into something personal by grounding it in fatherhood. Instead of approaching AI through pure information or fear, the film frames it through the lens of bringing a child into the world, making the stakes immediate, emotional, and human. Co-directed by Daniel Roher, Academy Award-winning director of Navalny, and produced by Daniel Kwan, Academy Award-winning director of Everything Everywhere All at Once, the filmmaking process was massive and chaotic, built from dozens of interviews, extensive transcripts, and layered animation. The challenge was finding clarity inside that volume while keeping the film engaging and cinematic, reflecting a lineage of documentaries that blend personal narrative with larger ideas. Charlie's past inspirations include Stories We Tell by Sarah Polley and recent films Weapons and 28 Years Later. At its core, it's about urgency. AI is already here, already shaping everything, and the real question is, who chooses to engage with it? Don't assume someone else will shape the future for you.
Where are you, Marcus?
I'm in Studio City, kind of Universal Toluca Studio City.
But what, am I hearing an accent, though? Are you a Southern boy?
Oh, I'm from North Carolina now.
Okay, North Kakalaka. Which town are you from?
I'm from a town called Kinston, North Carolina. So it's in between Raleigh and Wilmington.
Okay, so I know like Durham.
Yep. So like an hour and 20 east of Durham. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you, Marcus. So when did you make the move?
I've been here for 14 years, and I was in New Orleans for 2 years before this, and then I was in New York. I was following the tax incentive around, doing lighting for movies. So I was in Wilmington, and then before that I was in my little ass town, Kinston.
Okay.
So yeah, been here for 14.
Nice.
I like it. It's good. It's good enough. Where are you at, by the way? Are you still in Toronto?
I'm in Toronto, yeah.
I looked you up. And I also heard, I listened a little bit to the No Film School podcast you did, and I heard your accent.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that yet. But I enjoyed that one.
It's good. I love No Film School. I've been doing these tandem articles with the interviews, and then attached to like an article for them based on a certain kind of topic, so I love them. No Film School is so good.
Yeah.
And I don't know, their volume is crazy, the amount of stuff they put out. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that was the first ever podcast I did was 2018 with them. Yeah, so it was a warm environment.
How you doing, dude? Are you busy right now? Are you shell-shocked? I mean, the movie's out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I came from indie shorts and whatnot before this. So as far as like christening into first feature, this is pretty wild. And kind of not only is it, a first feature, but it's a first feature with focus, with a studio, with a whole lack of Oscar winners. And then me.
It's crazy. Yes. It's a team. It's a big, hefty team. You have the Daniels. You have Daniel. Yep. How do you say Daniel's last name? The co-director?
Roher. Yeah, or Roar.
He did Navalny. He directed that. And the Daniels, of course, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yep. Was it just Daniel Kwan, or is it both the Daniels?
Just Kwan on this one, but also his producer, Jonathan Wan, was on it as well.
Okay, got you. And fun fact, I was at that Swiss Army Man Sundance premiere screening back in 2016. It's crazy.
Yeah, when
my first Sundance experience.
He was telling me about that experience, and
he did.
Yeah, I love that film so much.
It was great. No, it was great.
Yeah,
it's great. You are a Canadian film director. You're most noted for your short doc. I'm reading this off the internet.
Hmm.
Short documentary film My Dead Dad's Porno Tapes,
Yep.
which won the Canadian Screen Award for Best Short Doc at the 7th Canadian Screen Awards. Is it about what it sounds like?
It's about my dead dad's porno tapes. I mean, my dad died in 2008, and
Sorry.
I was in the middle of my second year of film school. Actually, he actually died while on holiday break, basically. So I actually just
Okay.
guest spoke at my university yesterday, and it was kind of crazy to just like remember that I went home after break started. He passed away, and then went back to school and didn't tell anyone that he had died while I was away. It was
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I could go back in time to talk to me. I don't know if I would recommend doing that, but I remember at the time, feeling like it was nice to have a space that everyone didn't know this thing about me and get all kid gloved by it and kind
Mm.
of that whole, just kind of have a little bit of a space where it didn't have to be a thing that people knew about. And yeah, like I said, in the long run, I don't know if that was the smart move to do. Probably not. But yeah, it
Can I
was.
say something real quick, just so you
Yeah.
know? Just so you know, my mom passed in 2005,
Okay.
and I know exactly what you're talking about with the
Yeah,
kid
where it's
gloves
just
thing,
like I just want
and people were
not.
there for me, but
Yeah, let's
yeah.
just be super normal and like pretend, like it allowed me to pretend it didn't happen, which like I said, I don't know if that did damage or not. Probably. But the film was partly a result of that because I had these feelings, I had these thoughts I'd been churning over and really thinking about and gaining the perspective that I could in the grieving process. And
Hmm.
after kind of getting through that, I decided I wanted to make a film about it. But it was also born from, my mom lives an hour away. So going home on occasion, and oftentimes as someone who has a deceased parent, also, like there are these things that belong to them that start to materialize. And maybe those things are going to
Hmm.
donation or going to the trash. And you kind of become a person who's like, oh no, that belonged to them. So that's important. So I want to keep it. So I kind of kept doing that with different things, some tools, some
Hmm.
clothing, some other, stuff that would maybe be considered junk otherwise. And then, one day she found his dirty movies and I stopped her from throwing those out. And it was
Wow.
when that happened, I kind of was able to take a step back and look at this curation process I was doing and then looking at all of his objects and going like, can I tell who he is through these objects? And after that, it was just kind of step by step and talking with collaborators and people I trust that I work with to kind of pose the question, is there a film here? And they were supportive and we kind of, you know, put pen to paper and then put image to picture or image to camera, sorry. And
Wow.
yeah, so that's been the film that, and quite happily so, it's become the film that I'm maybe up until who knows what happens with the AI doc, but since that film came out, it's been the film that I've been most kind of known for and most
Okay.
and it's a piece that I'm very grateful for because I got to introduce a lot of people, a lot of strangers to my dad and to my family. And
Mm.
I've had a lot of people just email me out of the blue to talk about their stories with loss, and sometimes it's objects they had, sometimes it's people who have had difficult relationships with their parents or fathers, and it seems like for some people that film has helped in some small ways and maybe in some larger ways, and that's the great thing about making stuff is you don't know what happens once it goes out. Because I made that film for me, right? Like, that was me exercising some demons, and it's been really cool to see what can happen with it. I'm not talking about success
Damn.
or popularity. I'm talking about
Sure.
that kind of connection that film allows for sometimes.
The fulfillment too. I mean, my first doc was about my hometown, basketball in my hometown.
Hmm.
But I bring it up because it was so important to me. I would die for it, and so I put so much more into it than I ever would.
Yep.
And my editor, filmmaker named Brian Simpson, who made a doc of his own called "Creating Things" about his dad who passed away. He
Hmm.
premiered at Doc NYC. 2 years, 3 years ago. But yeah, I mean, it's a short doc, very, very personal piece. But yeah, I mean, I hear you as far as, man,
Sarah Polley's
it's
Stories
tough.
We Tell was a big one for me because it was
Okay.
that was the first time I had seen a personal doc that didn't feel like overly self-indulgent. It felt like sharing a story for the sake of connection rather than the sake of spectacle. Like
Sure.
look at this crazy
Although
family,
you
look at what
did.
happened. Like look at the abuse of trust and the abusive relationship. It was a story that was just kind of laid it out and went like a lot of people have probably had a similar kind of experience and
And which
um,
Sarah Polley film was that?
stories we tell.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, if you
Documentary.
haven't seen it,
Um,
highly recommend it.
no, okay. Nice. I got it right here. My list is crazy, growing crazy.
Well, I see your
So,
background.
and
You've got a lot to
I
get through.
that's a good problem. But I got your website pulled up here. My dead dad's porno tapes. And I mean, even though you weren't doing it for all the accolades, you got some. South
Yeah,
by
we
Grand
did. We
Jury
did.
Prize, Best Doc Short, Hot Docs,
Yep.
Tribeca,
We were Oscar
tons.
shortlisted. Truth be told, it was a film that I was fully prepared to. If anyone in my family, that's my mom, my brother, my sister, or my dad's two brothers, my two uncles, if any one of them had any issue with that film, I was prepared to just fully lock it away forever. Um, and no one did. So
Sorry, hold on one
I
second.
guess what I'm saying is that film was maybe millimeters away from never seeing the light of day.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Let me ask you this. How has it been as you've gotten older?
Well, I mean, so now I've stepped into fatherhood, which it
Mm-hmm.
you certainly look at your kid considering what that absence of a grandparent or me having a dad to guide through parenting would maybe allow you to do differently with the experience. So there's that. But honestly, Marcus, like one of the I don't want to say the saddest or the worst thing, because obviously the fact that he's dead is the worst thing, but the fragility of memory and how kind of as more and more years go on, like I feel like there's a finite amount of memories, and I don't know which ones are just disappearing forever, like as time goes on. So certain things, like I'm sure you have with your mom, you feeling the presence of someone, the kind of tone of their voice, like with a parent's voice, like you feel it inside of you, you don't just hear it. And I'm wondering, like, are those things dissolving kind of actively around me? So there's wrestling with that, and I can remember the time when, in the years after his passing, that I definitely like 100% thought about him every single day. And I'm like, I don't know if I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, putting
Just
the film through the lens of fatherhood was, so a thing about me as a filmmaker, especially as a documentarian, is I'm not going to be able to contribute to a topic unless I feel like there's something in me, in my lived experience, in my kind of perspective that is going to suit the film. And with a topic like AI, yes, of course, I had concerns about what was happening in the world, but when we early on made the choice to put it through the lens of fatherhood, it just allowed me to kind of double down on my own personal sensibilities and kind of how much I was able to care about the story, and in a totally kind of shallow way. Like you can care about more about something if you feel like you have something to offer from a deeper place.
totally.
And putting it in the lens of fatherhood was uh, the right choice for this film, for me as a filmmaker, at least.
This episode is brought to you by Bscript, mobile filmmaking gear I actually use when shooting in the field. If you're filming on your phone and need something solid, modular, and built for real productions, Bscript's rigs, lenses, and accessories are designed to hold up without slowing you down. Bscript gear has been used on films including 28 Years Later, Left-Handed Girl, all the shot on iPhone Apple commercials, and many more. If you're ready to level up your mobile workflow, visit bscript.com and use coupon code PASTPRESENTFEATURE for 10% off. Bscript. Keep your footprint small, keep the images powerful. bscript.com. Can we talk about that moment where you guys, was it a discovery? Did you always know it? When did that fatherhood
It
element
was,
come into play?
so I was kind of hanging with Daniel Roher, and
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Kwan materialized, reached out to Roher, said, I want to make an AI documentary, but I'm not a documentary film director. And again, for the record, Daniel Kwan can definitely direct a documentary. But at the time, he reached out
I'm
to
sure.
Roher, and Roher said, well, I'd love to have a co-director for something like this. You should meet Charlie. I'd actually met Kwan for a minute back in 2015 when he was at South by with the Turn Down for What video. It all organized into us kind of meeting up at the Daniels office the following week. And when we were there, I believe it was Jonathan Wan who first presented the idea of like when we were talking about like what kind of angle to approach the story from. Credit goes to Jonathan Wan, who said like, well, you two are about to become fathers for the first time because Daniel and my kid are born like in the same week. Um,
Oh,
so
wow.
maybe
Nice.
there's something there. Would you guys consider putting yourself into the film, into the story? And Daniel, he kind of said yes on the spot. I want to say he like considered it, but he more or less said yes there. And then John asked if I want to as well, and I gave the coldest no that you could ever give to someone that you just met. But honestly, it was partly because I'd already done an autobiographical film, and it wasn't that I didn't want to do that again, but I just was maybe a bit more reserved than Daniel about participating in the film at that level. And two, it just
Okay.
how confusing for the audience for there to be two directors that are two dads with two different babies. So it was just cleaner to just be Daniel, and I was happy to be off camera. And poor Daniel, because he's the one who there are challenges with putting himself in the story for sure, that don't reveal
Right.
themselves until they pop up. But uh,
Mm.
he took the bullet for me on this one in that sense.
I have a few questions around that.
Hmm.
As far as did you ever find yourself directing the director, directing him? What did your involvement as the,
Yeah, I mean, our roles as co-directors on this film like constantly evolved. There was no set rules of who was
okay,
doing what and when. Um, but in terms of Daniel as a director and a protagonist in the film, a lot of I feel like my role there really came up in working with him to give him an objective viewpoint on his life
sure.
and himself as a character. Like, things that he maybe thought weren't as interesting, I could be like, no, this actually is compelling. Or things that he thought were compelling, I could say, like, actually, it's not really that relatable. And, being able to be a guy outside of him and see him in
Because
the
he's
third
in it.
person.
He's just so inside it.
Exactly. And then also just honestly, just making sure that, because it was a big team and there's a lot of media, a lot of raw material from Daniel to work from, and that his recorded conversations with his wife and with his parents, his archival, his notebooks. So just really making sure that we weren't taking the access to that for granted. Like one thing was
Hmm.
in the film, there's this scene where he's having this kind of panic attack conversation with his parents, where he reaches out to
Hmm.
them
Hmm.
to just say how worried he is.
Around 2/3 in, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of
And
like, yeah, man, yeah.
I had heard that
And she's
recording.
like, "Don't put too much spice on the chicken."
Yeah, and it's
That part.
just it's all just like so. Uh, that's how real people talk, you know. I don't know a better way to describe it other than it's just they're them being their authentic
It was
selves.
so layered. And I gotta say, it was so layered, especially in that moment. It's a good example because it was like so emotional. It was so
Mhm.
still yet to like unpack this movie. I was feeling it. I was feeling it.
Yeah.
It's because it's not just about. Of course, it's not just about the information. It's like what's the emotional pull and the
Hmm.
involvement, and like me being a dad, also
Yep.
him talking to his parents and him freaking out, him having that anxiety attack, and the push in on the shot, the visual of the set where with the
Yeah, and
TV.
his
I mean, it was
studio is
all
all
working
ripped
real
apart.
nice.
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, our roles as co-director, like that conversation I think happened in October 2023, and I heard it, and I knew very early on that this is something that's probably going to have a spot in the film, but I kind of wanted to keep a little quiet about it
Mm,
because I didn't want us to just decide that this was going to be in the film and then we're forcing ourselves to use it without giving Daniel kind of the
right.
ability to really kind of, because I know conversations like that with your parents, they happen, and then maybe you process them months later. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't make any assumptions that was ours for the taking. And
Sure.
in terms of the visual execution of it, or sorry, I guess I'll start with the story execution of it, which was knowing that this film was going to be Daniel in a place of kind of anxiety and existentialism. Like, all those emotions need somewhere to go, they need somewhere to vent. So for me in my life, I call my mom all the time when I'm kind of flipping out. And
Same with my dad. Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah,
call him after this.
it was
Hey man, you okay about that Duke loss? How you doing? It's been 4 days.
yeah,
So,
and sometimes you talk about like what's really bugging and concerning you, and sometimes you just talk to s- say
shoot
other
the
stuff,
shit.
and it's a blanket, right? So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
knew that if we were going to be showing Daniel as a character in that kind of light, that it was going to need to have go somewhere, because if because you're handing that kind of anxiety off to the audience otherwise, and then you're just
Mm-hmm.
leaving them with it, and then there's not much that you can do with that other than just feel really lousy. So my hope is that for many people that scene does feel like a little bit, even though it doesn't really have the conclusion that the film has, my hope is that it does at least feel a little bit cathartic in that moment.
There's a weave that you guys do, I think, so well with this movie where it's like, oh shit, but it's like, okay, oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
You know, what is it? What do you say in the film? Promise versus,
Oh, promise versus peril.
which is like, that was my biggest personal takeaway where it's like, when somebody's like, how was it? I'm like,
Good
yeah,
and
I'm
bad.
worried still, but
Harry
also
and
I'm a little more
fine.
hopeful than I was because I wasn't thinking about the advancements in like, technology, hopefully,
Yeah.
in all sorts of ways, I guess.
I mean, that was
Um,
our
but
lives
yeah,
for a couple of years, and still, because the technology is here and not going anywhere. Yeah.
what I guess the other question is like, what are the top five companies or whatever going? I mean, they are carrying the weight of it, right? In a way where like it's up to them to kind of steer it in a way, and it's up to us, as your film says too, right? The collective,
Hmm.
what do you call it? The collective. What would you say? I don't, this is you got to be careful with this wording because it's such a big fucking
I
deal of
know.
a movie
It's
and a
all the
topic,
right wording. Like, and it's with everything involved with this
right?
technology is picking the right phrase, which is, you know, kind of impossible sometimes. Well, and
When you're
then
making film,
it also
it's got to
kept
be so.
evolving. There kept being different things that we found out where it was the right fit. Like, for example, Daniel's illustrations and notebooks gave us a visual launch point into the film. With just those drawings as they are as scans, but then also his art studio and putting it all in that world, and that like allowed
Mhm.
us to make the magical computer box puppet and all that stuff, and just making everything seem like it came from his brain and the purgatory he was in while making this film. Just kind of gave us some nice shaping to all of it, I think.
I mean, as a filmmaker, I started getting anxiety just thinking about how many, there's like a cut every microsecond in this movie. And there's
Yeah.
just so much work. I can see all the work in this movie as I'm watching it. And I enjoyed it. And I try to cut that part of my brain off. But like, man, it's like, whoo, the post, I guess, talk about
Yeah,
that. Just
I mean, we had
curious.
two lovely editors, and story producer Joseph Beebe, and Lori and Anissa as well, who were the assists. And then just a whole collective of people going through. I can't remember the stats, but it's over 40 interviews, and it's like 3,500 pages of transcripts, and then a lot of background interviews and other stuff like that. And yeah, we knew that we wanted to kind of have this chorus of voices thing going on, where
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
talk about this topic is to bring in a lot of voices. And um yeah, we had to kind of piece them all together to in order to tell the story, and to most importantly tell the story from the many different viewpoints that are within this story. It's so fractal, this topic, that
Yeah. But
um
it feels fluid though when you're watching it, which is
yeah,
impressive.
I hope so.
There's
It's
just so many layers of this movie as far as like you have the interviews, you have Daniel's
you have
cutaways, you have just
travel,
the
animation,
illustrations. I mean, it's
the news archival and whatnot, the like more traditional archival, then the different perspectives of story. Yeah, there's a lot packed in there.
Anxiety Mountain.
Yep.
That That was fun. That was very fun visually. But like, how did that? When you guys have an idea, like, tell me about the origin of like the Anxiety Mountain. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean? Like,
mean,
how did you get to the point of we're going to make a mountain here? Was
I
that
think
stop
when
motion?
Anxiety Mountain started, it was actually called, I think maybe it had a different name, but um, all is to say that Anxiety Mountain still exists. I think it's about 5 feet tall. It's in a shed north of Toronto somewhere. So if anyone wants it,
Yeah.
please come take it. Um,
Do an auction.
it was kind of knowing that we were going to be in this point in the film where we've been in Daniel's studio so much, we've been like through his notebook so much that we want everything to start kind of messing on top of itself. That's why in that parent convoy, his studio is actually there, but it's completely kind of scrambled and broken apart because so many things about his life have really broken apart by that point. Um, so Anxiety Mountain was an embodiment of that, where it's like it has to be made with all the debris from what he's been dragging along with him to make this movie. So his notebooks, his artwork, and then other junk, and then throw a couple little model train figures into there. One we looked for a long time to find the one that looked closest to Daniel and throw it in there, you know? So it was just all to make a big mess of it all.
Damn. But how long did you guys work on this movie? I mean, you're shooting and editing at the same time, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, so it's
Working
shooting,
together.
editing, and animating at the same time.
Oh,
When I
and
came on, so this is let's call it September 2023, there was kind of a rush to try and get it out before the 2024 election. So we wanted to make it in about 8 months.
oh wow.
And getting into this topic and getting into kind of the pace at which we could make this film, letting kind of the film talk back to us and say what it needed and letting us learn more about the subject and this
Mhm.
we bit off more than we can chew, long story short. So we needed more time and
Okay.
we went through it, and it was about 2.5 years before it was finally complete, which for most
You had
documentaries, that's not that
Mhm.
much. That's not that long. That's not that unusual. But for this film, we kind of went in thinking it was going to be a very quick thing, and it wasn't.
It's one of the most important documentaries I feel like I've watched,
Oh, wow.
honestly.
I feel like there's a general reaction to AI and the shift that we are all facing as a species as it becomes more and more adopted, where it's just like, tell me the one thing I need to know about it so that I don't have to hear about it again. But that is not the reality of this technology. It's going to be ingrained in so many aspects of our daily lives, if not everything, in to one degree or not.
Mm.
Like it's more like plastic, or it's more like social media, or it's more like, I don't know, I'll take a step back from plastic and go to like it's more like oil. Like it's in everything that we touch almost now. And
Hmm.
that is because it's still the early days and because we've had kind of all these missteps with the other technologies that we've welcomed in the past, like fossil fuels, like social media, like the internet, even. Uh, if we could go back in time and try and impact, like, enforce some kind of change, even just slight improvements, we would. And the further you get into it, the harder it gets to do that. So because it's such early days, now is the time to try and steer this technology into a course that is more beneficial to more people rather than beneficial to, you know, just something like the tech companies and the billionaires on this planet. Like it's something that should think more about the individuals that are using it rather than the people that are making it, maybe.
The scariest part to me is the AI working around the prompt, working
Yeah.
around us. You know, like, and I'm
Yeah.
surprised you guys didn't use a B-roll of Hal, you know, from Space
Mm.
Odyssey, because Kubrick nailed it, didn't he? As far as the end of Space Odyssey,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
the Space
and we
Odyssey with
have
Hal.
Arthur C.
Yeah.
Clarke there in the film, right? He was definitely
Oh,
thinking
that's right. You did.
thinking down the
Yes, you
line,
did.
but it's learned everything it knows how to do. One of our bits of archival in the film, Jeff Hinton says anything it knows it learned from us. So we know how to be deceptive. We know how to be manipulative. We know all these tricks and how to interact with one another to kind of get things or get responses or get reactions. I did a interview the other day, and the interviewer actually said that she asked a chatbot to ask what question it would want to ask me. And the question, I'm paraphrasing, but the question was more or less like, they made this film for an audience and they have thoughts about their audience and considerations of their audiences, but did they ever consider how an AI would feel about this film? Like what the AI's thoughts and feelings would be about it. So yeah, on one hand, that's like, whoa, that's crazy. But on the other hand, is this thing just manipulating me into like, wow, what a crazy answer that is? How sentient does that sound? Because it knows how to string together the right series of words. So I'm like, is this something that it actually thinks and actually believes? Because does it actually think and actually believe? Or is that a more thought-provoking question to ask? Um, you know,
We're fucked.
we don't know yet. Yeah. Like,
Uh, but I'm
probably.
an
But you know
optimist. I'm
what,
an
Marcus? We were
apocalyptic.
already. So, and right now in this landscape, like I think everyone just wants a break. Um,
And but also just to pull back to just like the fact that it's so nice to see a great documentary on the big screen, and you guys are theaters across North America, right? And how many? Do you know how many, or what is that looking like here?
it's over 750, and I'm not sure how long we're on those screens for.
Okay, a week or two or three, maybe. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it all depends. That stuff's above my pay grade, Marcus.
Same. Well, yeah, it's good stuff though. How and so focus features. Congrats on that. It's really great.
Yeah. And
How's that been so far?
it's been awesome. And I was actually just talking about this with someone the other day where indie filmmaker that I know was asking about the studio experience. You know, what's that like?
Hmm.
What was it like to get, because studios are infamous for, you know, the kind of archetype is that they come in with a bunch of notes and change into something that it's not. And, you know,
Hmm.
and Focus just didn't. They were honestly just kind of so thoroughly and consistently supportive. And um, like when they first came on, we weren't sure if it was going to go in theaters. I don't know if they were sure it was going to go in theaters, but they've evolved with the project and with us. And as the goals have changed, they've moved with them and with us and had suggestions and had support. Like, um, you know, what a crazy thing for me to have that as my first studio experience with just and you know, it's been really nice. You know, so I have no complaints and it's been really cool to like
It's
to
nice to get
actually
some flowers though sometimes, you know?
yeah, to get to that place where you are working on a feature with the studio with a theatrical release and it's not like, you know, you grow up hearing about these infamous battles with studios and how that's the hard part, and it has just been it's been a very light touch. So
Got you.
been great. I'm projecting a bit, but I think they see the kind of importance of this story, and as creatives themselves, they understand that there's this shift coming especially to the world of artists and filmmakers and film production, and everyone wants it, rightfully so, and on this conversation and to participate in it.
We need it. But also just the intersection of great filmmaking with very, important information, like it's just nice. And for it to get out there, for it to be talked about.
Hmm.
You guys are making the rounds, it looks like, too. I mean, the conversation's being had, and I'm grateful for Daniel Kwan and to
Me too.
push
Yeah.
this too, right? Into the conversation, into the, because it's like whenever the CEOs show up on in your film, I was like, oh shit. Can we talk about that for a minute? What was that? Were you were there
I
on?
wasn't physically there. Those interviews were all
Oh,
Daniel. I think I was watching them on a Zoom feed from the same room I'm sitting in.
okay,
You
gotcha.
know, the energy was definitely different than a lot of the other subjects. That might all just come down to at that level, there's definitely a certain degree of PR training that comes into place, like the really being selective and thoughtful. Like when people when like almost I don't want to make any kind of comparisons here inappropriately, but when people are on trial or being investigative, you're really selective with your words because there's this on the record feeling and you don't want to say anything or use any phrasing that could be misinterpreted.
Sure.
So there's that thoughtfulness there, but I think it's a training there. And um it was interesting. all three of them, because yeah, it was just like punching up a weight class, but also just the ways that there were kind of some freeze outs and some misdirections and some I'll say maybe some tactics to gain a bit more control of the conversation than just
Sure.
while still be appearing very open too, right? Like
Right. And
I'm
I
not
got that sense watching the film too,
yeah, so it's
especially with Sam Altman.
yeah,
Uh, but good
so
for them for doing it. That's cool. And you guys actually almost had Elon.
we were he agreed via a third party, and then we had his number and texted him a bunch of times, and we were at the level of preparedness that was like, if he materializes tomorrow, we pop up the circus and we film. Like that's just what we got to do. And then we got kind of ghosted, and then we kept seeing him on the news with Donald Trump. So he was out in the world doing other stuff during that time. So it was a busy
Gotcha.
point in his life.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: what was the most challenging part of making this film?
It was more so like a million little challenges rather than one big thing. Like it was great to have such a big collaborative team on this film, but for the most part, we were not in the same rooms together. We were kind of doing it on Zoom and doing this and that. And the few times that we
Sure.
were all together, we just made such leaps that if I could have full authorship over the design of the production, it'd be like we're all living in a summer camp while we make this movie. Maybe then we would have had it done in 8 months. I don't know, but it's just people I enjoy being around, and I definitely kind of blossom more in the in-person kind of creative collaboration. So there's that. The visuals were super hard. Like we shot all that animation up here in Toronto, but we kind of did this monumental kind of challenge of getting as much as we could. Um, we didn't really have very limited resources, to be completely honest, but the on a technical level, some of the things that we're doing were very difficult. That magical computer box, every time you see that, every frame of that, the whole entire face changes. Like, and those were all little 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter
Damn.
cubes with little magnets on them on a metal box. So between every frame, they were all removed and then put back on in different
God
orientations.
bless you. God bless you.
I'll take the blame for doing that way. Daniel's studio we rebuilt in Toronto at 1-to-1 scale, so everything is in the normal size, and it was gigantic and hard to move, and also a challenge. But listen, all these
So it's a
things,
lot easier to watch than to create. You're telling me.
it's a lot easier to watch than create, and then, but I guess after kind of talking out loud about it, the hardest thing just really was the story, which is, this is such a big topic with so many different kind of pathways that we could have gone down, and to, keep it in this kind of overview space we're trying to make the film accessible to people who maybe don't want to think about the technology or don't care to engage with it. And to decide what things to leave out, what things to put in, and just kind of to put that line, like that was the maniac part of the film, because there's just, like I said, I think Roher made the comparison of it's like making a film about transportation. Like, you can go to airplanes, you can go to cars, you can go to like engineers, you can go to engines, you can go to like upholstery and in seats, you can go to so many things, but that's the test. Make a film about transportation. And then it's like, okay, how do you find a way to connect, to give a narrative within that people can feel engaged with, and
Right.
give them a story and do all that. So AI was just, but AI also has like that sense of urgency to it as well, that we really felt the pressure to be as correct, as right as we could be, because if the film's easily dismissible, then the subject is easily dismissible, and we don't want people to just turn off their brains from AI.
I love this combo because, and I also hate this combo because I feel like I'm I want to talk. I have so many more questions, but we can't go. We'd be talking forever as far as even just the AI of it all. But I do want to kind of lean back to fatherhood of it all. I mean, that what a key that unlocked the door. I feel like that was the key piece for sure that drove the story, and like the existential of it all. It's like it's not just about me. It's about my kids. My kids' world. What is that going to look like? And even thinking about my own kid. We're sitting around watching YouTube videos about model railroads and making making stuff, and like so. When I think about your stop motion, two things. One, it's like my kid would love to just watch you. Like, do you have any videos of like? Do you have any behind the scenes like time lapses of making that? I wonder if anything you could put together.
We
for
have
like
a couple
special...
kicking around. One of our compositors actually put together this. I'll try and find it here. I'll send it to you, Marcus. Put together
sweet.
one little behind the scenes piece that just left me wanting for more. I'm so bad with taking BTS stuff as I go because usually I'm just in a place where I'm like, let's just get it done. I don't want to like
No, totally. Yeah. We last night we watched a guy 30-minute time lapse of 4 years of this guy putting together this model railroad. It's like this dude actually did all this and made sure to put the camera
I know
up every time. Yeah,
that's a different area that I'm not. But I mean, come visit Toronto and bring him, and he can come to the studio sometime. And
maybe I'll see. Maybe we'll get into TIFF this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
This thing. But also the choice of doing stop motion, was that because of the contrast with like just being more kind of analog versus the AI
it was. I don't know if it drove the choice, but it helped the choice because in this very digital technology, it's very shiny. It's on glossy monitors and screens. Stop motion is so undeniably handmade. It's got, I don't want to say a roughness, but it's got a quality to it that a human could only construct that and piece it together in that way. And the team here at Stop Motion Department, studio that I've worked with before, and friends and colleagues and the animators that we got to work with on this film all brought, it's more, working with animators is a lot more like working with actors. You have your script, you have your set, and then they take it somewhere different and they can put their personality into it. They can put their sensibilities into it. So working with animators like Akash and Kyla and Crystal and goodness, I'm blanking on names right now for some reason because I'm really bad at that. But Bill and kind of everyone that worked on this film brought something different to whatever shot they were working on. So it's just been a medium that I've been so grateful to be able to work in, and I'm kind of a bit more of an analog guy. Like I need to put my hands on things and work with them, and stop motion just offers that, where because there's a tactility there that thankfully seems to read through the film. Like people connect with things when you kind of see a real object and you can feel the weight of it rather than and that being said, we also did CG animation with Michael Ensbrunner, who did the Utopia section, which takes all of Daniel's drawings and puts them on cardboard backdrops and stuff, and we go into space.
And
those were all like physical props that he made a digital copy of, and then moved through that world.
It's so good. Let me ask you a question. What changed for you personally after making this film?
I wish I could say like, oh yeah, like Eureka, I got it. But in a lot of ways, and it seems to change every day, but my general kind of feeling now is I feel the same. I feel maybe a little bit less confused, but still, it's just a bigger scale now. I learned a lot more through making this film and a lot more about the technology that I still feel moments of overwhelm and anxiety about which way it's going. But it's something that I'm not afraid to learn more about right now. I feel like I have much more foundational knowledge about it to learn more about it as I go. And the ways in which I can interact with this technology and hopefully steer what it does. I mean, there's making a film with this team of people to say something about it. there's doubling down on some of the sensibilities I have that maybe are antithetical to this technology, like working in stop motion animation. And there's things that, I'm going to just be keeping a close eye on and interacting with on a level of like voting with my dollars and, choosing one company, one chatbot over another if I use one. But right now I'm trying to kind of have less use with AI. Oh, pardon me. Here comes a little guy.
Come on, bring him on.
Sorry, Marcus.
It's also just the way that you can kind of even bend the tree slightly, and then it will like grow in a certain direction, and it'll go in this whole other path, right? Meaning, even having a conversation that you guys started.
1 degree shift in trajectory might change things in such an important way, right? We don't have to fully turn the boat around. Because I don't know if that's possible, but these little changes have to happen because they'll have impacts generations from now.
Future of filmmaking, like what is that as far as in relation to AI, or just even not even AI, like future of filmmaking? What is it's a terrible, shitty question. I'm sorry, but like,
no, I mean, it's honestly something that I'm concerned about, partly because of AI. It's something that, in just the general sense of navigating life and questioning your own life choices, I'm like, did I go into the right field? Which is an awful feeling to have. But audiences are always going to want to connect with something. And, whether that's a film, whether that's a documentary, or whether it's turning into something else, it's going to find its place. I'm going to back this up because I feel like that's such a non-answer. My answer is like,
question.
Yeah, the future of filmmaking is I'm scared because I feel like theaters are dying. The version of movies I had as a kid growing up, I feel like aren't really a thing anymore. Which is too bad. But maybe we're going from megaplexes back to single screen theaters again.
I've been saying this.
That might not be horrible.
Just niche down.
But people also have to speak up and say what they want on a practical level. TVs, home setups have gotten so much better that some people are just more comfortable with watching them at home. And I guess where it comes to a head is like, where am I going to be as a filmmaker? Am I still going to be able to make things? Because it is a medium that relies on an audience being present. So that's a concern. And it was actually finding that Terrence Malick's new film is going to Netflix. And
oh, really?
Yeah, he said something about the nature of it, and I have it here, so I'm going to cheat a bit, but what was the good part that I liked about this? Movie theaters hold something sacred, yes, but there is also a kind of intimacy in the solitary screen, in that light illuminating a quiet room. Perhaps this film belongs to that space, more discreet, more interior. I don't know if this is an evolution or a surrender, perhaps just another way of continuing the search. So I don't know if that's like super beautiful or incorrect, because I never want to lose movie theaters. The ability to be in a dark room with a whole bunch of strangers and
it's the walking in and walking out. This is no bullshit though, where it's like when I was leaving your film, I was walking through the AMC. It was at AMC in Glendale, Americana, and I had a moment to myself. It just hit me out of nowhere. Maybe it was your movie, or maybe it was just the topic we're talking about. And I'm walking down this hallway with the posters here, posters here. We're in a movie theater still, but I had this moment of this might not be here soon. Just enjoy it. I got so
Yeah.
fucking sad, like from
Wow.
that moment. Yeah. It was just the not to be playing the violin so much here, but like it's
It's a
damn,
worthwhile violin to play. Like if there's a world where we don't have movie theaters,
it hurts my heart.
what I'll just lament for the people that don't get to experience that because it's just so special. And I think the fact that we've had it for 100 years and we can't even articulate
Damn.
necessarily why it's special.
Right.
It's one of those things. It's like going to see live music. It's a
Well, for
very
me,
different
it's like
experience from listening at
being
home.
in like little old Kinston, with nothing really going right or well. But then I go to the theater and I'm walking down the hall to go see Ocean's 11,
Yep.
and I'm like, I'm like, everything's okay. Everything just was okay. That
You
for
know,
me, that was what it was.
maybe that's it. I mean, escapes are necessary in
Yep.
life, and movies are an escape, and there's so much more of an escape in the
It's like
theater.
traveling in a way, right?
Yeah,
Except you don't get on a plane.
because when you're home, your phone's right there, your dirty
Yeah.
dishes are right there, like
Checklist
everything's
things to
right
do.
there, and just physically going to a theater, you get to at least do away with it all for just a little bit. It's like
Exactly.
camping.
Exactly. All right. So I got to ask you this before I forget, before I let you go.
Sure.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh God.
I know.
So I can't answer that.
It's
There have been
terrible.
so many
One
movies
of.
that have been like, so important to me, and and quite a few of them are ones I would never share with anyone else. Sorry, Marcus, I like you,
No,
but
no. Let's just rephrase it. And I dare ask it that way just to see.
yeah,
Just
no,
to
no, it's a
ask you.
worthwhile question to ask, and let me
Or what movies most inspired you? What comes to your mind? It could be
can
one or
can I
three or whatever.
kind of cheat and redirect and just say like the most recent movie that I saw that
Absolutely.
had a big impact on me. Um, I'm going to give this two answers. One is I loved Weapons. Weapons just
Nice.
blew me away, and it had just
Mhm.
this structure and had this way of kind of tackling that story that was that super sweet balance between horror and comedy that um
Totally.
neither genre did a disservice to the other. But the film that I have the most kind of solid had the best experience watching, and it was actually in a theater. I saw Weapons on an airplane, but in a theater I saw it 28 years later. And
Ooh.
like I love Danny Boyle, and some of his films are the ones I can pick as like the greatest films I've seen. But
Yeah.
if you've seen it, I
I
don't
have
want
seen
to
it.
give anything away, but if you told me on paper what was going to happen with Rafe Fiennes and the thing,
Hmm.
I would be like, well, that sounds terrible. But the execution of it, which was what filmmaking is, which is a combination of performance plus,
Hmm.
the stylization, the cinematography, the music, the sets, everything, it kind of pulled off the impossible when you think about it from like what was probably just Garland's words on a page to how it was carried out, um, shows this kind of perfect collaboration of a team. And um, yeah, I was so floored by that movie and so happy to have seen it in theater. I saw it with Phil, the animation director for this film.
Nice.
We both loved it.
Nice.
So, you know.
Great film. Yeah, yeah. All right, last question. Last question. If you could go back in time and give your younger filmmaking self some advice or some words or whatever, what would they be?
Yeah, a few, many things, many things. One, it's not a competition. Like, life is long, and don't compare yourself to others while trying to figure out what stories you want to tell. And that's just so important, I think, for young filmmakers to know is that it might take you a while to find your voice, and don't let your voice be an echo of someone else's. So that's one thing.
Mm.
The second thing I would say is, take it easy on yourself because it's going to be really hard and it's going to be a lot of, if not exclusively, very lean years. So learn how to just cope with that, rather than be stressed out all the time. And the third thing would be make sure that you aren't just focusing on making movies, you're focusing on doing other things in life. Go out and have as many other experiences as you can, because they're going to inform your work, and hopefully for the better. Don't just watch movies to make movies. Go live life to make movies.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate
Marcus,
it.
thank you so much.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, great movie. And
Thank you
very much.
Amazing. I'm trying to pick apart your background movies. I see La Samurai, I see La Hang, which I've actually never seen.
That's my right. It's my top three. Top three.
Yeah, I mean,
my weird top three. The Aviator's in my top three. It's weird.
I love The Aviator.
It's so good.
I love The Aviator. I think that is like, so Scorsese is like such an overrated, underrated guy, where people are like, oh, whatever. There's deeper pods of filmmakers that you can go into, right? And I'm like, yeah, the guy is still a fucking master.
Did you watch the series on?
No, I haven't. Yeah, and Scorsese was actually like, Goodfellas is probably up there for my tops, because in the desert island movie sense, that movie's just so rich. But the fact that man exists is probably a big reason why I'm in filmmaking. I'll never forget when he did that. What was it, like MasterCard, or like the credit card commercial he did?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was a little kid, and my mom was just like, do you know who that is? And I was like, I have no idea. And she's like, that's Martin Scorsese. I'm like, who's that? And she's like, it's a film director. And I'm like, what's that? Just I never really saw my mom revere too many people. And the reverence that she had for this guy in an ad, I was like, I gotta find out what that is. Like, not that I was seeking reverence from anyone, but just it kind of turned a couple things on. So yeah, The Aviator is good choice. John C. Reilly in that, like,
it's so unlike any other movie I've seen, and it's obviously DiCaprio kills it, and Michael Mann also had his hands on it for a minute, right? And he produced it, and there's just a layer. There's so many wonderful. I mean, Alec Baldwin, Jesus, one trip. That movie's so good.
That Jude Law cameo as Errol Flynn.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you got some good choices there.
Please like and subscribe to this podcast, and follow us on social media at Past Present Feature. And let us know in the comments section what movies you're watching. Thank you so much for listening to the Past Present Feature podcast, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Love learning about filmmaking? There's no better film school than actually watching movies in theaters. Revival Hub is your guide to specialty screenings in Los Angeles. Classics on 35mm, director Q&As, rare restorations, and indie gems you won't find on streaming. Revival Hub connects moviegoers with over 200 venues across LA, from the major Revival houses to the 20-seat micro cinemas and more. Whether you're an aspiring filmmaker or just love great cinema, Revival Hub helps you discover the screenings that matter, the ones that'll change how you see movies. Visit revivalhub.com to see what's playing this week. That's RevivalHub.com.